Today I'm going to talk a little bit more about the fairy kingdom Loka, okay, as I call it. So this is a Loka where you experience, when you have an experience of the Loka being within the center of a kingdom, if you will, the king of a kingdom, the center, uh, filled with fairies and basically beings from stories, right? So it's around you are basically story centers that you visit, and as you visit those places, you basically enter the stories, live stories, if you will, giving your light to the stories that you visit. Right? So they're old stories and that have almost no more light, but that crave light. And stories that basically try to get light from other stories, and so on and so forth. Light is energy. Energy is knowledge. Light is knowledge. Energy is knowledge. It's one cycle. Okay, and basically within all the lokas, what you basically see is everything works on energy. Okay, and that's the energy that gives life, that sustains life, but that also provides information as well, sustenance for life. Okay, with the energy of life. Okay, and knowledge unites us within the reality and truth of existence. Okay, so different lokas. The loka I wanted to discuss today is that loka specifically. And what I wanted to discuss is actually something you might experience if you have an experience of becoming fully enlightened. Okay, and basically at that loka, the managing to get rid of the veil that's been put over your eyes, basically by the fairies that have wings around the center, the gray wool that they pull around your eyes from behind. And if you can get rid of that and basically become fully enlightened, one of the things you might experience is different levels of beings as they exist at that loka. And here we're talking about different beings and how beings at that loka can be seen as, they're bigger if they're spiritually more developed, right? So they grow basically, and from where to grow spiritually, right? So you actually grow as a being at that loka, and then basically, you can reach certain levels of development, including the development of a Shri being. Okay, and a Shri at that level is a very, very big, massive being. You know. Picture a tree as to a man, basically. Okay, as size. Okay, and one of the things you might see is some of them have smoke coming out of them. Okay, when you're talking about advanced spiritual beings, or beings that have gone through basically the fight of the war, basically, of learning of the truth about themselves and learning about existence and all that. They've gone through that combat, if you will, so they can be very grizzled. Okay, so you can see them at that level, they're very grizzled, with scars and all that stuff, gaunt. Okay. But you can also, apart from seeing that they're grizzled, you can see different things. And one of the things you can see is that some of them smoke. They have basically like almost what's like a chimney coming out of them, and then smoke coming out of them. Okay, and some beings have that. Okay, and what is that? Okay, there's some questions in certain traditions and faiths about whether smoking, if smoking can basically advance your spiritual practice, and I think this video might help to answer a little bit about that. Okay, now when you look at the level of that loka, a smoking center is basically a center like here that would smoke. Okay, so that's the way you would see it there. Okay, so it's coming from the being of that center. Okay, because it's coming from your being. That's something that's happening with you. With your being. You would see smoke coming out of the center, and that's a smoking center. Now, why would a center be a smoking center? Okay, there's certain centers that might be more inclined to become smoking centers, and some that might less be inclined. Okay, what can happen with a smoking center. One of the reasons why some centers, and especially Shris, tend to be smoking centers, okay, is because by smoking, there's certain processes that can be done that accelerate your spiritual growth. Okay? However, they have an effect on your health. Okay? So it's a risk that some take and grow with it, right? Um, but at the same time, it has an effect on your health, right? So what I recommend in this case, if I have to make a recommendation on it, is if you're a smoking center, okay, and you've reached where you wanted to reach, okay, there's nothing that's stopping you now from stopping the smoke, okay, and basically you can do it for your health, right? Because at one point you have to tell yourself, you know, I've reached where I wanted to reach, I've attained what I wanted to attain, and all that. And now at this point, if I was doing anything, basically running any shortcuts, okay, especially any shortcuts with any side effects, okay, well then you have to stop that, okay. For example, in the cell dimension, when I had the opportunity to buy something on the black market, if you want, and I bought a microwave, and I used that microwave to basically hack into the system and basically do what I had to do. Okay. Now it doesn't matter if I talk about it anymore. It's all done, busted. You know, at this point, I'm just like laying back and thinking. You know, there's a reason why I share these things now, and why I didn't necessarily share them earlier. Is because certain things had to be put in place, and I had to lock certain things in certain ways and make sure that all security of the network, if you will, within which we exist, was maintained and secured before I could talk about these things so freely. Okay, so a smoking center, if you ever have an experience of enlightenment of that loka, and you see another center, and you see basically it's almost like a mountain, basically. Someone was using the term mountain earlier today, so I think I'll use it now. You're looking like a Shri is like a mountain compared to an individual. Okay, and then shining and glowing with spiritual energy. Okay, and we've talked about how Shri is basically enlightenment, right? So has advanced to a certain point where he's become enlightened, so that means permanently enlightened. Okay, and then basically an enlightened one gets basically their level of development assigned to them. Their priority level as well. You know, that reflects basically with the color and the flag and the symbol of their enlightenment. That takes place as they become enlightened, and their symbol enters the vibrationary field of enlightenment with the other enlightened symbols. Okay. So a smoking center, and what I can recommend to a smoking center, having been a smoking center, is it's not good for your health. Okay, and that's something I did see at that level during enlightenment too, when I saw that loka, that it is very bad for your health. It creates like a cavity within you, and that's used in some processes to accelerate growth. However, if you are able to cut out that habit, I think your health is an important thing. And once you do become a Shri, I think it's important to maximize your time here in the physical, here in this level, while you'll still be here if you are here in enlightened form. And I think that for everybody's benefit, it's good for you to stop smoking and to do that as soon as possible. Okay, so this video aimed a little bit more towards anyone who might be a smoking center, who might have reached where they wanted to reach in their spiritual practice. I guess it is. The video is also in a sense for people who are looking for shortcuts to spirituality. Yes, you can use those shortcuts and become a smoking center. Okay, and that directly relates to your development as a spiritual being. However, be advised that you are playing around with your health. So it's the equivalent, in a sense, of taking steroids. Okay, for your body when you're a bodybuilder or something like that. You will get bigger, but you're going to be playing with your health. Okay, so smoking and then knowing how to smoke and all that, and to use that within yogic processes. So I'm not saying just anybody pick up a cigarette and you're doing yoga. That's not what I'm saying. Uh, what I'm saying is it has to do with yogic processes. And if you're not using these yogic processes, you're a smoker, but you're definitely not one that's going to be going to achieve anything through that, or be benefited by that in any way. So that leaves you only with the side effects. Okay. So a smoking center, okay, something you actually do experience. Yeah, and you experience the spiritual being, like the Shri, if you want the spiritual being, at that level of energy. This is one of the energy lokas, okay, where you see everybody energized and given life by this energy, this glowing yellow golden energy, right? And yeah, so a smoking center at that level. Okay, so I just wanted to talk a little bit video about smoking. Someone asked, do I smoke? Do I not smoke on my way? I think that's a personal decision that no one can tell you what to do. Do I think it makes you a bad person if you smoke? No, I don't. And if you don't smoke, do I think that you cannot achieve the same thing as someone who does smoke? I think that's an interesting question as well. Okay, so when you do look at this, in the story, there are different things here. When we're talking about smoke, and then we're going to talk about what are you smoking. Okay, we didn't get into that, and I'm not sure that we will. Right? Okay. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, I'm just going to limit myself to two things. Okay, that is used most commonly in spirituality. I'm not. This is not an exhaustive list. Okay, but these are two. Okay, so smoking tobacco, which is used in many cultures, and smoking cannabis, which is used in many cultures as well. Okay, so what can you do here? Okay, as far as your experience during spirituality, okay, tobacco has its place in the story. Okay, and then so does cannabis. Okay, so do you need to smoke these regularly during your practice? Well, that's a good question. Okay, my thought to this is you need to be doing what's right for you at the given time. Okay, to further yourself in your spiritual journey and spiritual development, or to get back on path. And if you can finally tune yourself to advancement, okay, you can basically get into that mode where you're in samadhi, basically you're in ultimate trance, and you're just plummeting through the spiritual achievements one after the other, because your spiritual achievements, your spiritual being, your spiritual development, okay, is something that you have to actually manifest in the physical. Okay, it's almost like it's anchor or it's projection, vice versa. Take the one you want. Okay, as above, so below at all levels. That's how it goes. Okay, so you need to basically move forward with that understanding. All right, so smoking centers, an interesting thing. And if anyone comes and talks to me about smoking centers, I'll say, my friend, you are already on a very good path on your own journey of spirituality, and keep it up. And if you have any questions, let me know. Okay, thanks for listening.